I'm going to start this video with the spoiler warning. Do not watch this video if you haven't seen Hunter x Hunter Chimera Ant Arc. I will talk about an ultra mega massive spoiler that will ruin one of the best things of the Chimera arc. So with that being said, here we go. Gon's transformation in Hunter x Hunter episode 131, Anger and Light, could have been achieved by Gon going through 4 of the 5 stages of grief multiple times. Let's analyze each stage, explaining why everything builds toward catastrophic anger. Brief explanation of grief stages. To better understand this analysis, let me first explain what the stages of grief are. The 5 stages of grief and loss are: number 1, denial and isolation; number 2, anger; number 3, bargaining; number 4, depression; and number 5, acceptance. With that brief explanation, let's see how Gon went through the 5 stages of grief on the Chimera arc. Stage 1. Denial. After witnessing Spito's attack on Kite and having felt a sinister aura, Killua immediately concluded that Kite couldn't have possibly survived the fight with Pito. He even said to Netero Morel and Nuff that he couldn't see any of them defeating that thing. On the other hand, Gon starts to develop a powerful state of mind, clearly determined in believing Pito couldn't have possibly defeated Kite. From this point on, it marks the start of Gon's denial stage. He even convinced Killua that Kite was still alive and they should hurry back to save him. At that point, Gon assumed Kite was hiding from the Chimera Ants, and he convinced himself that due to Kite's injury, he would not be able to do anything. Gon saw himself as the hero that would rescue Kite from his imprisonment. All he needed to do was get stronger. Stage 2. Depression. Gon becomes frustrated to the point of a momentary depression because he couldn't beat Knuckles and felt overwhelmed with his weakness, which prevented him from saving Kite the second time they went to NGL. Note that in the definition of the depression stage, the depression comes from the realization of losing someone, but in the case of Gon, he is depressed because he is too weak to do anything to save Kite. But Gon quickly gets over his depression by merely shifting his belief that Knuckles and the other hunters will save Kite. All he had to do on his end is become stronger, not to disappoint Kite when he comes back. Stage 3. Denial again. After witnessing Kite's puppet-like condition, Gon holds firm to his denial of Kite still being alive. But this time though, he shifted his denial from having to rescue Kite to finding a way to get him back to normal. By now, Gon had gone through the denial stage twice by just changing the conditions, so he doesn't have to acknowledge Kite is dead. Gon is in complete denial. Stage 4. Anger. Gon focused all his anger toward Pito, blaming her for getting Kite the way he is, like a marionette. His previous weakness is compensated with a hate so deep that grants him catastrophic power. All Gon had to do was focus all his hate toward Pito to unleash a power entirely fueled by rage and anger. Even Morel's ass closed a bit. He got scared when watching Gon's attack. Stage 5. Bargaining. Gon feels incredibly helpless with an overwhelming amount of guilt. He finally accepted, after 2 denials, that Kite indeed is dead. Even still, right to the bargaining stage, he tries to negotiate a way out of his loss by assuming several what-if statements and blaming himself for Kite's death. after blaming himself and hoping Peter will use Dr. Blight to heal Kite, Gon finally accepted reality, which leads to Stage 6, Anger, an absurd amount of it. Gon goes through the stage of anger once again, but this time, after finally accepting Kite indeed is dead, the amount of rage toward Pito is so immense that made Gon level up to a level of trillion. All the conditions were met to awaken this power, and the amount of hate and anger was so absurd that Gon didn't care if that was his end. As long as he could completely obliterate Pito from the face of the earth, he would come to terms with his suicidal decision. After having massacred Pito and going through the stages of grief multiple times, Gon was overwhelmed with an extreme sadness of finishing the job the way Kai taught him, but without being able to save him. Even after an undead Pito caught his right arm, Gon felt somewhat redeemed and could at least die after achieving his mission. Stage 7, Acceptance. Thanks to Kilua and Aluka, Gon came back from certain death and was able to reach the final stage, Acceptance. In this case, however, is entirely different because Kai didn't die. He well, he turned into a little girl. What is interesting here is the acceptance applies to both Gon and Kai because neither of them had the training required to defeat Pito without dying. So, after cheating death, they just needed to accept that they should move on now as true friends that will help each other in the future. Conclusion. Gon going through all the grief stages to reach his transformation was so amazingly built that when it happened in episode 131, it was a masterpiece. It didn't occur because of plot convenience. It happened because everything builds to that point.